what just came to mind as we were talking about this, like you're talking about the person in front of you. And we're also talking about people hurting people, kind of. I mean, we kind of alluded to people hurting people in the name of Jesus or religion or things like that. So as at the end of training those two pastors in New Hampshire, and it was our last meeting. While I was there, I heard the Lord say, "Go to a church in Boston." So I'm like, "Huh, okay." So I told them, I said, "Well, I think I'm going to a church in Boston tomorrow." And so they prayed about it. I prayed about it and everything. What I didn't realize until I um, searched churches in Boston to see if something would hit me. But what I saw instead was SatanCon was going to be in Boston that weekend. And so the Lord's telling me to go there. I found out later he did that with a lot of people. So anyway, I'm heading to Boston the next day and I'm praying. I'm like, Lord, will you what church? Where am I going? What church? And I heard something say, go to the first white church you see with a steeple. And I said, Lord, is that you? And he said, no, I will tell you. I will show you. Or something along those lines. Immediately, Rhonda, the pastor from the night before, texts me. She said, hey, I was praying about your church. I saw an image, I saw a vision. I started looking. This is what I saw. And it was First Baptist Church in Boston. And so ultimately, I'm like, all right, I guess that's the church I'm going to then. And so what ultimately happened is that church was just a few blocks away from SatanCon. And the steeple of that church was being refinished or refurbished. And so there's scaffolding around the steeple. So anywhere I was in Boston, I could look and find that church and get some kind of direction. But ultimately, I won't go into the whole story, except we're talking about God providing. So I want to tell some extra stories. So I get there and, it's at night and I go to a restaurant to work on the book a little bit. And I had literally just prayed, Lord, what am I doing tonight? Where am I staying? What am I doing? And this girl walks in right after I had prayed that, asked the bartender if she can charge her phone. And I had an extra cube. I said, if you need this, you can just have it. And so we start talking. And ultimately, she's just like, she asked me this weird question that who asked this, but hey, do you know where you're staying tonight? And I said, no, not yet. And she looks at me and she plunks down $100 bill and says, I want you to stay somewhere nice. This is on me. You've been so nice. You gave me, and I'm like, God, you're so good. You are so good. And then another thing, so I'm driving around Boston and my GPS, this was the weirdest thing. Well, the voice would say, go right, but the arrow would say, go left. It happened all the time. And I was feeling frustrated. Here I am driving all around Boston and I'm praying about it. I'm like, Lord, what is this? And he goes, you are not wasting time. You are covering the city in worship music preemptively before the SatanCon people get there. He's like, you are covering this. He's like, you're doing exactly what I need you to do. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Well, for 3 days, this is happening for 3 days. The gas needle or the needle on my gas gauge never moved off of the middle. I'm driving all over Boston and no gas was used. God is just absolutely amazing. But I won't go into all the details, but ultimately I got to talk to a lot of people that were there for SatanCon. And prior to that, many of us were we're praying against SatanCon, and the Lord told so many of us separately, do not pray that it doesn't happen. You pray for the salvation of the people that are going there. So we're like, oh, okay, cool. And like I said, this is all separately, but as I'm meeting people, we all have the same story. And so I get to talk to these Satanists in a very, very awesome way that God set up, but I won't go into all that. But the the common thread with every single one of them that that we got to talk to is they don't believe Satan's real. He's just a mascot for them. And every one of them was hurt by somebody in the church badly. And so this was their rebellion against the church, against that hurt, that pain, the trauma. And so all of that is to go back to, you were talking about these people in front of us. We're either shining light or darkness, or putting darkness. Our words are either blessings or curses. We're speaking life or death. And I think a lot of times we don't realize the level of death that we are speaking over people sometimes, to the extent that it points them in the direction of Satanism. Yet people in the church that are pointing these people straight to hell. That's all I have.
No, and that's really good, because I often say, the influencers a thing, and it's probably a past thing now, and they're using a different term. I don't know, but we are all influencers, and we're either influencing for good or we're influencing for bad. And we just have to be very aware of that and very intentional of the words that we choose, because we can have good intentions, but if we're using the wrong words and the wrong approach, it can turn someone away. And we don't want to do that. One of the things that comes up for me time and time again is, regardless of whether we're talking the politics or the Olympics or the Satan Con or whatever, it's so easy for us to write off the people who don't believe what we believe or who aren't on board with our faith. We have to remember that those are people who are an opportunity, that if given the right conversation and the right example, may actually be people that will come to Jesus. They could be our opportunity to convert a Saul to a Paul. And we don't ever know who that's going to be. And so if we look at people through God's eyes and see them as someone that he loves, even if they're being hateful, we might be that person that influences them to the other side. And we just need to be that light. And I don't like to sound all fluffy and that, but it's the hard truth. I mean, it's, yeah. So we need to stop tolerating horrible things and calling it love.
Absolutely. And, I do want to say this. I can't say that I have always spoken life. I can't say that I do it all the time now either. Um, we, I strive to, but we all mess up. And so I just hope and pray that when I mess up, that the Lord will fix it. And if I hurt somebody, that either he'll call it to my attention and I can fix the hurt, or that he'll fix the hurt. So yeah.